Today, we celebrate new beginnings. Today, we launch our new term and we welcome new opportunities. The last 2 years have tested the resilience of the Filipino people. We have faced an unprecedented global health emergency, an economic recession, in many places, fairly divisive election, and the ripple effects of international crises such as wars, an ongoing environmental crisis, and a pending global recession. For many families in the 3rd District, many of the days in the last 2 years have been a life and death struggle. Pero subong may magasidlak na ang bag-ong adlaw, puno sang oportunidad para sa ikaayo sang kabuhi sang tanan. I left 3.5 or so years ago the quiet, simple life in the academe with, as you all know, great reluctance. But the trust and confidence of the people of the 3rd District has motivated me and kept me going. Sa lahat, sa tanan sa inyo, salamat gid sa Metro 3rd. In 2019, I don't know if he's here yet, a challenge was thrown to us that we needed to break a historical record of 178,000 votes. In 2019, we fell short by 3,000 votes. I am happy to say na tungod sa inyo man na suporta kamo na mga lideres diri sa Metro 3rd, in 2022, we garnered 204,301 votes. Gahulat pa ko sang premyo sang nag-challenge sa aton. Kung ara siya da sa sulod, matigid siya. Pero sa totoo lang, the pressure has been high. People have been expecting me to exceed the accomplishments of my predecessors, and one specific predecessor, as a matter of fact. And I have had big shoes to fill. But do understand that my predecessors have laid a strong foundation for the development of the 3rd District. And this has, in fact, made my job easier. With a solid infrastructure plan like that of the Build of national government, such as the Banose Road, the Patag Road, my predecessors opened new frontiers for tourism, for digital jobs, for the diversification of our economy in the 3rd District that catalyze economic growth and transform us here. Truly, I stand on the shoulders of giants, one of whom has now moved to Bacolod. I was only beginning to ease into my life and role as a government official when the pandemic hit and everything changed. We tried to ensure the continuity of our programs and projects in the district. We had to shift our priorities and realign our resources. We had to improve our infrastructure, recalibrate government machinery, and reconfigure built social and natural environments. It has become more urgent that while we still need to construct new roads to continue the plans from the past, we also need to continue to enhance our local health system capacity to address future disease outbreaks and build new telco towers, install fiber optic cables to connect schools and communities, the internet to enable distance learning and remote work. That is why I worked on House Bill 10463 that will increase the bed capacity of Teresita Lopez Halandoni Provincial Hospital. I am happy to share with you that through the help of Senator Go, the Senate has adopted the bill before the 18th Congress adjourned. The bill is now in Malacanang awaiting the President's signature. Lapit na lang gid, Doc Maestral, ang ako na utang sa inyo ni Attorney Diaz. Not only the provincial hospital, but we are also mobilizing resources to build or improve more barangay health centers and city health offices. It has also become essential to provide opportunities for our citizens to build sustainable livelihood and skills so they can survive the current and future economic shocks and compete in a changing job market. Here we have tapped and coordinated with DSWD and TESDA for skills training and additional capital for micro enterprises. We need greater investments and meaningful reforms to ensure inclusive, resilient, and sustainable green development. To facilitate this, I ask all of you stakeholders and leaders of Metro Third to help us adopt a new paradigm and to frame and exercise our understanding to reshape our world. We need new pathways of development that put the basic needs and the interests of the individual at the center of a dynamic interaction between social, cultural, economic, and ecological forces from the global scale to the local level. That is why I filed several measures in Congress introducing sustainable solutions to these development pressures. In line with Governor Lacson and Provincial Economic Development Consultant, now presumptive Mayor of Bacolod, Albi Benitez, to leverage the digital economy as part and parcel of the province's recovery plan, I filed House Bill number 6874, which aims to accelerate the digital transformation of our economy, bureaucracy, and education system. This bill harmonizes the fragmented ICT policies and programs and provides for a framework for digital reskilling of our labor force. I also called for a bigger budget for the DICT through House Resolution 1203 and funding for a national broadband plan that outlines a nationwide fiber optic cable network through House Resolution 1253. I chaired the technical working group that crafted House Bill number 11098 that seeks to establish ICT hubs in every local government unit. We mobilized resources from the national government to build our digital capability in the 3rd District. Through the assistance of the DICT, we opened digital reskilling centers in Talisay, Silay, and Victorias. Para na ang inyong mga computers, operational ng kalabanan sini, may sugpon pa kagdugang ina. I have also received the commitment of the DICT to open more Tech for Ed centers in Murcia and in Sarabia. These interventions are crucial to harness the opportunities of the 4th Industrial Revolution. Advances in science and technology are radically transforming the entire range of human activities with deep implications in value creation, consumption, education, and labor. Naghatag kita sang mga laptop sa mga estudyante kag teachers para sa ilan na transition to digital and distance learning, I was tasked by then Speaker Velasco to write the recommendations and the provisions in Bayanihan 2 to provide laptops to teachers in DepEd nationwide. Digital technologies are also enabling new forms of artistic and creative expression and promoting cultural heritage, linking artists, artisans, and creative entrepreneurs to a wider audience and market. Ms. Ina Gaston. The 3rd District stands to greatly benefit from this digital creative nexus. The 3rd District is a cradle of culture. Our fertilized soils are not only for producing sugar, the country's sweetest exports, but also our talents. Our homegrown artists and artisans have been a source of pride for shining the spotlight on Negrense craftsmanship and creativity, on Negrense culinary secrets and heritage, fashion and visual arts, music traditions. Our heritage houses in Silay, Councilor Gamboa, are taking tourists time traveling back to the Gilded Age of sugar barons. That is why I championed bills that promote heritage tourism and creative industries in Congress. House Bill number 10107 will cultivate Filipino talent and entrepreneurship and support creative industries as catalysts of economic growth and national pride. Ms. Ina Gaston, ginahulat na lang naton ang pagpirma ni Presidente sa ini nalihi, which we worked on as Vice Chairman on the Committee of Creative Industries and Performing Arts. I also co-authored with then Deputy Speaker and now Senator Loren Legarda, House Bill number 10057, which mandates local governments to conduct cultural mapping. This will boost heritage tourism, heritage conservation, cultural education, and pride in local place. These bills, filed and if need be, refiled, will enable the 3rd District to harness its cultural capital and maximize cultural assets and human creativity as a springboard for post-pandemic economic recovery. These interventions enable us to bridge our present with our future, but also the present with the past. We indeed need to contemplate how we can bridge the new and the old, how we can build on the legacy of our parents and chart a brighter future for our children and their children's children. Our current environmental crisis is an alarm bell that reminds us again and again that we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. We are stewards and not masters of the earth. That is why, aside from pushing for measures to preserve our cultural heritage, I also pushed for bills that will protect our natural wealth. The increasing demand for raw materials to supply the need of a growing population has intensified the exploitation and the competition for finite resources. The result has been the depletion of our natural resources and the destruction of habitats and ecosystems as natural cycles are unable to keep up with the demand and needs of our population. Our dependence on fossil fuels is accelerating climate change, and our increasing consumption of plastics is also generating waste that pollutes our rivers and oceans and harms public health and wildlife. We articulated in Congress the need for a phased prohibition on single-use plastics. I am particularly proud that House Bill number 9147, consolidating over 46 measures filed, which I helped craft as chair of the technical working group, was passed on third reading, the furthest stage that it has reached since the first bill on single-use plastics regulation was filed more than 20 years ago. I also had the privilege to be part of the bicameral conference committee that crafted the bill on the extended producer's responsibility, a major component of House Bill 9147, which shares the responsibility for plastic waste recovery between local government units as it stands today and manufacturers and producers of plastics. We need this to promote a circular economy. Lapit na lang na manginlayi na ni, ginahulat naman liwat ang pirma ni Presidente. Again, Ms. Ina Gaston. I also led the technical working group on bills that aim to prevent marine pollution and filed a landmark bill that provides for a framework for a blue economy policy nationwide. House Bill number 10479 calls for sustainable practices that will protect our marine wealth and our marine and maritime heritage. Our marine and coastal resources are increasingly depleted with overexploitation and damage by pollution. Here in the district, we partnered with FishRight, a USAID-funded program, and convened an inter-LGU council to promote sustainable fishing, enforce laws and regulations to prevent illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing, and protect marine and coastal ecosystems. I also co-authored, again with Deputy Speaker, now Senator Loren Legarda, House Bill number 9181 that will establish a natural capital accounting system that directs NEDA and the PSA to measure the economic value of our natural resources and ecosystems and account for our dependence on them and the cost that they must bear for our development. We need to determine the value of our natural assets in order to understand how high the cost is when we allow for its destruction. I intend to refile the counter bill in the House now that Deputy Speaker Legarda moves to the Senate. We have already discussed how we must push for these advocacies. These bills, filed in Congress of the 18th Congress, stress the need to balance the imperatives of economy and ecology. To elevate the discourse of development pressures, my office co-organized with the provincial government the Negros Water Summit in 2020. Initially, the summit was designed to be a discussion limited to water issues in the Metro Third. However, Presumptive Mayor Albi Benitez, then provincial consultant on economic development and investments, demanded that we open the discussion to a wider audience. After all, we all should share the responsibility of protecting our water resources. And as he pointed out, nature doesn't abide by our political boundaries. The summit highlighted the increasing demand and competition for water in households, industries, and agriculture, and its negative impact on water sources and ecosystems. Water is a vital resource, and we need to think of long-term solutions to ensure water security in Negros Occidental. We need to reverse the degradation of watersheds and explore alternative water collection methods as rainwater harvesting and harness innovative water treatment technologies to ensure sufficient and sustainable supply of affordable, clean water. I would like to also thank the Safe Water Project, another USAID-funded project, and of course, Governor Bong Lacson and Attorney Diaz, who is in the tent. I can see you waving. On the work after the Water Summit in 2020, the Safe Water Project collected baseline data on water consumption, quality of water sources and watersheds, which has now served as the foundation for Governor Lacson's Provincial Integrated Water Security Plan. And that outlines targets and mechanisms for ecosystem-based water resource management and financing for water infrastructure projects. One of the pressure points that the pandemic has also exposed has been our dependence on supply chain logistics for the food that we enjoy. Food security is another emerging issue that we in Metro Third need to address. That is why I also filed House Bill number 3412, which the House passed on third and final reading as House Bill number 8385. This bill mandates the development of family farms, community gardens, and food forests in urban areas utilizing aquaponics, solar power technology, and guided by agroecological principles. In our desire for further food sovereignty, I would like to make a shout out to the Silay-based slow food community, which has been particularly helpful in promoting sustainable agriculture in the 3rd District. Ms. Rina Gamboa, please shout out. They are showing how growing crops can be adapted to natural flows, environmental processes, and biogeochemical cycles. They are leading the shift from fast, instant food, from junk food to healthy meals, prepared using fresh and organic food ingredients, traditional recipes, and cooking techniques with as local a source as possible. I also pushed for the establishment of a marine hatchery in Talisay to ensure sustainable supply for mariculture and aquaculture farms, to help us make blue crab fishing in Sarabia sustainable in the long run. This will not only support food security, but also food tourism and push for food sovereignty beyond food sufficiency and security. The impact of climate change is increasingly becoming felt, and not just on our food supply. Just last year, the district experienced unprecedented flooding due to unusual heavy rainfall during New Year's Eve. That is why we have pushed for a comprehensive flood control plan for the district. Already, we have mobilized 2.8 billion pesos for flood control in the flood control projects in the district. We will need more, since the Office of Civil Defense that we consulted has identified over 7 billion pesos of infrastructure need in the district for flood control and risk mitigation. What is clear, though, is that we need to invest not only in physical infrastructure for sustainable development, infrastructure that facilitate the efficient flow of resources, but also in the infrastructure that catalyze the flow of ideas and deepen the values of stewardship and sustainability. And for this, education is the key. We have to teach children not only how to read and write, not only what to think, but how to think. And perhaps even more importantly, to solve the problems and navigate the complex systems and their constant disruption that shape our contemporary world. International tests assessment of the Philippines has shown The educational crisis is here even before the pandemic struck. That is why I worked on the creation of the second Congressional Commission on Education to evaluate our education system and recommend reforms to enhance learning for life and adapt our population to the demands of a changing economy and society. Iniman nagahulat na lang sang pirma ni President Duterte. We have to recognize as well the role of our private schools in improving education. They have been a pillar of our education system, and that is why I filed House Bill number 9573 and led in the lobby to provide private schools tax relief to cope with losses due to dwindling enrollment because of the pandemic. This is now Republic Act 11635. We need learning that is lifelong. Learning not only develops mastery of facts, but traces the deep contours of our minds to create and to innovate. We need to provide holistic education for everyone. Learning that will enable individuals to explore and express identities between self and community. Learning that cultivates meaning and provides for social development. To support lifelong learning, I filed House Bill number 6749 to establish community learning centers equipped with internet connection and digital devices. This has been integrated into House Bill number 9004 that the House has passed on third and final reading. Already, we have built multi-purpose facilities that can host learning activities and assemblies that will deepen our civic life. From 2019 to this year, we have funded the construction or rehabilitation of 94 such buildings around the district. For long-term support, I have filed 2 bills that will establish schools for the arts and design and sports training in the district. House Bill number 8035 aims to establish the next Negros Occidental High School for the Arts and Design here in Silay City, while House Bill number 8035 seeks to establish the Negros Occidental High School for Sports in EB Magalona as requested by Mayor Marvin Malacon. In the 18th Congress, we initiated the adoption of principles behind sustainable development goals to redefine development planning and programming, particularly in relation to urbanization and human settlements. Being Councilor Bernardo the chair on the House Committee of Housing and Urban Development, I filed House Bill number 3891 to highlight the human and ecological dimension of urban design. We need urban renewal that reconfigures urban neighborhoods to become what urban planner David Sim calls the soft city. The soft city is a reimagination of the city from a mechanized society obsessed with the mobility and flow of capital and the creation of economic value to one which is based on ecosystems that create values from placemaking and from human interaction. We need to transform the gray concrete urban landscape into blue-green infrastructure that adapt the contours and circular dynamics of nature. Nagapati man ko nga ang patutuod na asenso hindi tagid malabot kung wala sang matawhay kag hilway na panimalay kag balay ang tagsa-tagsa kapumuluyo sang tercero distrito. Development, as my father used to say, must have a face and must have an address. That is why, as chair on the Committee of Housing and Urban Development, I shepherded important measures to fulfill people's right to adequate housing. Congress passed House Bill number 8348, which originally my brother authored on third and final reading to institutionalize on-site, in-city housing resettlement. The practice of government has been to relocate informal settlers living in danger zones to resettlement sites that lack opportunities for gainful employment and sustainable livelihood, and sometimes even basic utilities. In-city housing will keep them close to their jobs, their children's classes will not be disrupted, and they will be near government offices and facilities for assistance. It upholds their right and access to the benefits of the city. I also filed House Resolution 1468, which the House adopted as House Resolution 1677, to sound the alarm over the country's worsening housing crisis. In the 3rd District alone, Andrew Peñalosa, we need around 50,000 housing units for families living in danger zones or under threat of eviction from private properties. This is almost the same as Bacolod's needs. So the challenge has been thrown, members and leaders, mayors of Metro 3rd. Unahan pati tarong sa Bacolod, pangita, building sa ilan ng mga pumuluyo. Nationwide, we need to construct 1.1 million housing units every year. But actual production is only at around 190,000 to 200, or only 17% of the target, leaving a huge and increasing housing backlog. House Resolution 1677 thus calls for higher spending and a mechanism for public-private partnership to expedite production of mass housing and to provide adequate housing to our informal settlers. Kalawig na sang akon hambal, kalabanan sini wala gid kamo kabati, because this has been what I have been doing while I'm not in the district but in Manila. Kadamo sini sang aton nasuguran, kilanlan naton balikan. Ara pa dira, for example, ang aton kin-file para sa Negros Island region. Kagang iban pagid na liye na aton man kilanlan i-refile kag itulod kag idaso mangyapon. In my first term, I filed some 337 measures. We have connected 30 schools with Wi-Fi. We have spent 130 million for water systems, 602 million for bridges in the district, over 3.3 billion in roads. We have given out 161.5 million of assistance to individuals in crisis situation. Ang aton handom mabuligan kag mabatyagan sang tanan ang asenso sang Metro 3rd. Achieving this requires all of you. We still need to ensure efficient and equitable access to quality education, public health, public infrastructure to enhance human capital and human resilience to adapt to disruptions and global transformations. We need to harness the full range of human potential that comes from curiosity and creativity to foster the development that does not disrupt natural cycles of replenishment and renewal, and processes and development that must promote human dignity, development that brings security and comfort to us all. Kung hindi ta na mahimo, hindi pa ta kasiling na nabatsyagan na sang tanan na pumuluyo sang Metro 3rd, sang tagsa-tagsa kapanimalay sa silay ang tudtuod na asenso. Today, I recommit myself, but throw down a challenge to us all to commit to always bring to the fore and to the core of power the struggles and aspirations of our people, and to always act as public officers according to their best interests. After all our offices are a public trust. Join me on this journey, fellow members of Metro 3rd. And together, let us usher a new day full of opportunity and hope for a brighter future. Kaysa tutuod lang gid, puno sang kasanag ang kauswagan. Padayon ang asenso sang tagsa-tagsa kapanimalay. Padayon ang asenso sa distrito. Padayon ang abanse sang Negrense. Madamo gid na salamat sa inyo tanan. Madamo salamat sa inyo na hamili na suporta. And I will continue to work and make sure na sa 19th Congress hindi mahuyan ang 3rd District sang Negros Occidental.